films, cassettes. Gosh, I miss those times, man.
The Eurocopter Tiger EC665 UHT is a current top-tier helicopter in the German tech tree. This is the only top-tier helicopter which lacks a gimbal-mounted cannon. This, combined with the fact that you have fire and forget missiles, makes a Tiger UHT a very unique aircraft indeed. In the mid to late 1980s, the German and French governments were looking for a new attack helicopter, while the logical and cheapest option would be to buy American AH-64 Apaches. The French stepped in and, as usual, ruined everything, insisting on a joint venture between French and German companies. This formed the basis of the Tiger program, but in the late 1980s, the program was effectively cancelled due to the spiralling cost. Germany and France at the time not having any experience in developing and producing a major attack helicopter. The project was later solved, however, due to Eurocopter signing an agreement which financially secured development of the project. This agreement came, however, in very late 1989, just as the Cold War was ending. The end of the Cold War led to massive defence spending cuts all across Europe and in NATO. This again put the Tiger program at risk, as it was thought that the German government might pull out of the deal altogether. However, the Germans did want to get a newer helicopter to fulfill a wide variety of battlefield roles, which gives this version of the Tiger its name, UHT being German for Support Helicopter Tiger. It's important to realise that the UHT is not a dedicated anti-tank helicopter. It is designed as a close air support unit, and to be more truthful, frankly, close air support at a budget. For me personally, a support helicopter which lacks a gimbal mounted cannon for supporting infantry is a pretty poor choice, but hey, what do I know? But what about the Tiger in game? Well, this was a rank 7 helicopter located in the German tech tree. It sits at battle rating 10.7 in arcade and simulator, and battle rating 11.0 in realistic. To unlock this helicopter, you're going to have to grind out 390,000 research points before purchasing the helicopter for a cost of 1,020,000 silver lions. You will then have to put the helicopter in your lineup for the cost of another 290,000 silver lions. Moving on to the repair cost, and when playing realistic battles and fully upgraded, you'll have a repair cost of 3,725 silver lions. Very cheap indeed. Going on to the rewards, and with a premium account and playing realistic battles, you can expect a 464% research modifier and a 210% silver lion modifier. Once again, this is a tech tree helicopter and it will come fully stock. Well lads, that's the overview finished. If you'd like a more in-depth look at this helicopter and whether I think you should grind it, then stick around for the rest of the video. The UHT is one of the more manoeuvrable helicopters in War Thunder. It's around the same size as the Apache and is equally as agile. It can sharply turn and do rolls. While no helicopter in game can outmaneuver an incoming missile, it certainly can dip in and out of cover, launching its missiles and securing kills. This is, however, more pilot skill rather than aircraft performance. But the helicopter itself can get up to a top speed of 309 km per hour at an altitude of 1,000 meters, with the max altitude of this helicopter being 4,000 meters. The top speed is alright, and you'll never want to climb that high anyway. Going on to the armour and survivability, and as you can see, we do have a thick composite armour screen along the cockpit. This is only 20mm thick, but it does provide around 1.5 inches of protection, or 38mm. This will protect you from 12mm heavy machine gun fire, but against 14.5mm and up, it will struggle to protect you. The UHT also has missile approach warning systems. This automatically deploys chaff and flares when a missile is detected. This is a rather effective way of counting incoming IR and radar guided missiles. You can carry 60 countermeasures, choosing between flares, chaff, or flares and chaff together. Overall, the UHT is fast and manoeuvrable with plenty of flares. This makes it pretty survivable as long as you stay fast and low. Climbing in a helicopter is pretty much a death sentence, especially with all the modern surface-to-air missile systems currently in game. We now come on to the weapon systems, and the best place to start is on top of the rotors. This is where the UHT houses its thermal imaging, and all of its other targeting systems. In real life, this allows the UHT to target enemy assets while only exposing the top of the aircraft, popping up briefly to fire a missile and then drop back down again. This can be useful in War Thunder, but it hasn't really made a difference, at least in my own personal experience. The FLIR, or forward-looking infrared camera mounted on top of the rotors, is a 3rd generation system and has very high resolution thermals, allowing you to easily acquire and kill enemy targets. Other than this targeting system mounted high on the aircraft, there is no sort of radar or other sense of optical sensors on the helicopter. As I mentioned in the introduction, the Tiger UHT is the only top tier helicopter which does not have a frontally mounted cannon. While this does make the helicopter rather light compared to some of the other helicopters at top tier, you do really feel like you are missing out though, not having that gun. Kind of like the early Phantom variants, who believed the future was all in missiles, who then sorely wished that they did have a 21mm cannon when they were sat up the arse of a MiG-21, unable to do a thing. If you can't tell from the sound of my voice or from my dialogue, I'm not a fan of this helicopter not having a gun, as I feel it drastically reduces the usefulness of this helicopter. You can carry one gun, that is the 12.7mm FN M3P machine gun. This is mounted on a hardpoint on one of the wings of the helicopter. This basically makes it act like a fixed gun, but in order to carry this gun, you have to sacrifice carrying some of your heavy weaponry, a trade-off which is not worth it at all. You can also carry a machine gun and rocket pod combination, allowing you to carry the same 12.7mm machine gun with a total of 3 rockets. And these are the 3 FFAR Mighty Mouse rockets, basically World War II vintage. They travel at 701 meters per second, contain a TNT warhead of 1.17 kilograms of TNT, and their high explosive anti-tank warhead gives them 290mm of penetration. These are very effective when spammed at enemy tanks, where when you're carrying 3 of them, they're pretty much useless. Luckily, however, we can carry a lot more rockets than this. You can carry a total of 38 Mighty Mouse rockets across 2 pods. This is a lot less than some other helicopters, but the Germans weren't kidding about doing things on a budget. These are the same rockets, same speed of 701 meters per second, same penetration, same poor post-penetration damage. Not much to say here really. We then come on to the anti-tank weaponry, and first up, we have the Hot 3 air-to-ground missiles. These are SAKO guided, meaning they must be manually guided onto the target. They have a terrible maximum range of 4.3 kilometers, compared to the Soviet helicopters which have missiles running up to 10 kilometers, and it just demonstrates just how poorly this missile is, at least compared to its contemporaries. It does have very high penetration though, with 1250mm against flat armour, and its TNT warhead, consisting of 4.87 kilograms of TNT, is very high, giving it great post-penetration damage. You can carry a total of 8 of these missiles on 2 pads, with 4 on either one. Up next though, we have the PARS-3 LR air-to-ground missiles. These are infrared guided missiles, meaning they lock onto a heat signature of an enemy tank and guide themselves onto a target. They have a TNT warhead of 3.7 kilograms and can penetrate 1000mm of armour. These missiles are rather infamous in War Thunder, especially in simulator battles where they are very hard to detect. After locking onto an enemy and firing, you do not have to control, guide, or track an enemy. The missiles will simply guide themselves onto a target. There is a caveat however, as these missiles are infrared guided, if an enemy goes behind cover, goes into thick foliage, or pops a smoke screen, the missile will lose track and self-destruct. The Tiger UHT in combination with the PARS-3 LR missiles really do rival the KA-50 for being the biggest cancer in War Thunder sim battles at the minute, especially on wide open maps which are long plains such as Poland, Fulda Gap, and the Ardennes, basically any map with no concealment whatsoever, and you can guarantee there's a Tiger UHT getting at least 5 kills in every match. One of the biggest benefits of this missile is that it doesn't matter if you die, as long as you launch this missile and then you get shot down, the missile will continue to track even after you die. This is a downside though for the tanks on the ground, as it means that killing the helicopter doesn't kill the missile, something which isn't the case for every other helicopter in game, as if you knock out the helicopter, you knock out the tracking of the missile as well. We then come on to the dedicated anti-air missile of this helicopter, the AIM-92 Stinger. They have a rear aspect lock range of 7 km and an all aspect lock range of 4.5 km. This is an infrared guided missile and has a maximum overload of 10 Gs. If you've watched my previous videos, you know that the AIM-92 Stinger is a man-pad, or man-portable air defense system. Initially made to be fired and held by a single man, these Stinger missiles have been adapted for use on helicopters. To be honest lads, these missiles aren't the best. I'd only really fire them against enemies going away from you. When firing at enemies going to the side or coming directly out towards you, the missiles do struggle to track. They also have a very low TNT filler of only 540 grams. You will normally one-shot anything you hit, but I have had a lot of deflection shots, which only resulted in crits. And that's pretty much it for the UHT. unless you're using the PARS missiles, you really are putting yourself at a disadvantage. The PARS missiles really do make this helicopter worth playing. While you can use the Hot 3s, pretty much everything else is just a joke. Personally, the lack of a main gun really does draw this helicopter back. I know it sounds stupid when you've got 4 air-to-air missiles and 8 air-to-ground missiles, but you don't understand just how important that main gun is, especially against incoming enemy air jets. While you may not be able to shoot them down with your main gun, you certainly can deter enemy jets getting too close. Before we get into the conclusion, let me know what you guys think about the Tiger UHT, and which helicopter, plane, tank or ship you guys would like to see reviewed next. The Tiger UHT does succeed well in its battlefield role, that being pissing off the enemy team, but I don't think it's as powerful as the H-64D Apache or the Mi-28 or K-52. Sure, the helicopter is fast, mobile, and with its PARS missiles, very deadly, but you can only carry 8 of them, and they are largely predictable. The missiles are rather slow, and when you spot one coming, which is rather easy to do when using thermal optics, you can simply get into bushes, trees, or hard cover such as buildings, and you will have defeated the missile. The main issue with the UHT is a lack of flexibility in my opinion. While the 8 PARS missiles are great, you don't really have any other option. You can carry 38 rockets, which isn't really practicable, the Hot 3s are terrible range, and while they have got better penetration than the PARS, you have to get suicidally close to the battlefield to use them. The Stinger air-to-air missiles are largely just a meme, they hardly ever track properly. And the lack of a gimbal mounted cannon just means once you've fired off your 8 missiles, you're pretty much useless. There's nothing really you can do, apart from going back in and landing and hoping you don't get strafed by enemy jets. The Tiger UHT certainly is Germany's best attack helicopter at the minute, and it's one of the most deadly helicopters in game. But is it the best? No. Is it worth grinding? If you play a lot of top tier Germany, then yeah, sure. But if you want to get a good helicopter, regardless of the nation, I'd say either the H-64D or the Mi-28 or K-52 series of helicopters. If you did, please do consider. Alright lads, I hope you enjoyed that video, and if you did, please do consider subscribing to the channel. You can also leave a like and a comment, which again, also boosts me in the algorithm, helping my channel to grow. You can also follow me on Twitter as well as Twitch, and if you're a huge fan of the channel, you can become a member of the YouTube channel, which will give you a unique icon next to your comment, in both comments under videos and on YouTube live streams. Once again, thank you very much for watching this far into the video lads, and I'll see you in the next one.